I guess coming from the automotive and mobility space, I guess I always experienced that getting access to a car is really hard. Whether you want to test drive a car, whether you want to rent a car, whether you want to lease or buy a car, the process is pretty long-winded, lots of paperwork, and it's a bit of a process full of friction. We wanted to try and make that easier for customers, and we recognised that one of the big barriers for that was technology. So we kind of saw the intersection of those two things, opportunity for better technology in the space, and then to use that to create better experiences for the customer, and something that we're super passionate about doing.
I met Chris probably about 7 years ago now. He's running a digital agency, and I was doing some work there, having sort of left corporate and doing some freelance stuff for other big corporates. And yeah, we got friendly, got chatting, and then I remember one night distinctly he phoned me, and he told me this vision about the mobility industry, where it's going, how rubbish it is, which I could relate to because having got rental cars and stuff before, and like just seeing how old school the industry was. So I kind of fell in love with this story and this vision, and at the very end of it he said, "So do you want to build this for me?" And I was like, okay. So kind of panicked and said yes, but kind of was really excited about the challenge of doing it, and kind of in my mindset, knowing how bad the industry was, I could kind of see like lots of really quick potential wins there. So it wasn't trying to invent like, a sun in the box. It was something we could actually incrementally change really quickly and make a difference. So I was quite excited about that.
I think some of the challenges we faced, particularly in the early days, was really just getting to grips with what it was to run a startup. So, came from a commercial background in a bigger corporate, thought, okay, right, I know how businesses operate, I can figure this stuff out. But it took a little while to kind of really work out what we were doing, how we were doing it, how do you make a business. It's an easy thing to talk about. It's an easy thing to go, okay, yeah, we're going to do this, and here's our plan, and this time next year, Rodney will be millionaires. And the reality of it is, when you get into it, is actually a lot harder than it seems. So I think we probably spent a couple of years just trying to find our feet in that space. And now it's funny where we see problems come up that might have taken us 6 months to solve before. You're just like, okay, yeah, we've dealt with that before, and we can easily navigate it. So and I think particularly of thinking about areas about acquiring customers, finding the right fit for that, but then also fundraising is a real art, and one I don't profess to be an expert at, but definitely we've learned a lot about in our process. So
I think the original sort of the vision I was sold on, which is kind of, funnily enough, where we find ourselves now working towards. We had this idea of, so Chris's vision of where the market was headed to like 6-7 years ago is kind of exactly where it is headed to now. And our idea was building this kind of like neutral marketplace for vehicles where providers could put underutilized vehicles on the marketplace, and then other service providers had a need for them, could like take them off and have like a free floating access to them a lot easier than they do now, right? So we started to build the entire platform in that way. But what we didn't realize is building a marketplace is really difficult because you need to also have the demand and supply. So if the market isn't actually ready for the marketplace, how do you generate the demand and supply? So we had to pivot quite quickly, built some other products that satisfied both the demand and the supply side. And we find ourselves now across multiple markets doing various different products, all in the automotive space. But we've now created this marketplace concept, and now we can kind of see that being used in reality. And just looking back at how we kind of got from what we wanted to do to where we've got to now is kind of really, it's a real strange path we've taken, but kind of a real logical one and linear as well. You can kind of see exactly what we've done, and we couldn't have done it any differently. That's what we had to do. So it's really good that we've actually built the platform with this vision in mind, because now we find ourselves, the platform does exactly what the market needs it to do. And it's really, really good and configurable in different countries, in different aspects. Like our platform, it doesn't matter whether the vehicle's a vehicle or a boat or a plane or as I joke around, an egg sandwich. It can be shared. Something can be made available to someone for a period of time for a set price. And how our system deals with the availability and how the algorithms work out the pricing and the availability where things should be and need to be is kind of, if we hadn't have built it with that original vision in mind, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing now. So that's kind of, like, I think we've kind of almost magically stumbled into the right place that we're in on purpose.
I wanted to give the obvious answer of going, oh, I wish I'd known that it was so hard. I think I always knew it was going to be hard, and I actually don't mind that it's difficult to do. I think I wish I'd understood a bit more about the sort of customer fit part, finding what the customer's problems were. The first version of Tomorrow's Journey was really solving a problem that actually customers are only having today. 6 years later, we were trying to solve a problem that didn't exist yet, which is kind of a good place to be, but also makes life a little bit difficult. I think I also wish there's probably a short little book that I could write about fundraising, of like things that I wish I knew about, how that process worked, what investors were looking for, how that would translate into making a deal. I think that is definitely stuff, but I think you kind of really need to learn that on the job. There's no amount of books you can read about it that could give you that information.
I think just that vision of the marketplace, like if we'd known that the market wasn't going to be ready for 6-7 years, I mean, you couldn't foresee COVID and then other issues with like, IC supply for microchips and stuff. It's all been very challenging to sort of get there. So if we'd known how difficult it was going to be, we could have focused on other areas and maybe got further with those other areas. But I just don't think we would have got to the position we are now if everything hadn't happened in the way it did happen. So yeah, I mean, I was never under any sort of disillusion of how difficult the journey was going to be. Just thinking about the things that we've need to overcome, the challenges we've had, the challenges we've still got to have. I think we've addressed everything in a really sort of clever and smart way, a grown-up way as well, which I still amaze myself about. We've actually got like this company now, which is profitable, and we've got like 30 odd people when it was just me, Chris, back in the very early days. So I just think how we've got there is an amazing journey in itself, and let alone building a market leading platform which is kind of like enterprise grade. Our availability stats are amazing for a platform this size. The engineering team that we work with at the minute is just brilliant. Like one of the best I've worked with ever in all the jobs I've had, in all the corporates I've had. It's just been fantastic. So yeah, just really enjoyed the journey to where we are now, really.
I think it's hard to have a particular moment. I think there's probably two areas that I think of that are rewarding. And I would also say that kind of when you're in the middle of it, it's hard to recognize some of like what you've achieved because you're kind of in the day to day. But I think whenever we get together as a team, it's really rewarding. That suddenly you go, okay, right, well it was me and Matt who had an idea 6 years ago, and now we've got 30 plus amazing individuals working for us, and seeing all of those people come together when we meet up and do team building stuff and like interacting together, all that stuff is a really nice. That's a thing we made, which is really exciting. And I think also just on the product side, when you do a product demo, did a few in the last couple of months where you really getting into the everything that the system does. And again, it's a bit of a step back, and you go, actually, this is really good. Because again, we forget it in the day to day. We're solving problems, we're navigating customer requirements, all of that stuff. But actually, when you step back and look at what we've achieved, it's pretty impressive. So yeah, but those moments don't happen that often, I think.
I think it's difficult to pick one particular moment. I guess the obvious ones start out is when you hire your first sort of 10 people and you actually realize you've got a bit of a business. The first time the project goes live, the first time you recover from a massive incident where there's been an outage and you've restored everything successfully in all of the InfoSec documents that we have to agree to, and you demonstrate like we have got a really enterprise-based system. There's lots of different things at the same time that sort of spark that great memory, but or great sort of achievement, I guess. But I think just generally overall, the fact that we are where we are in different markets with different products, and making like real difference for customers, but also our clients as well, like driving real change. It's actually like, it's just amazing to see that we've actually done that.
I think a couple of them that would be for any startup really, winning the first customer. I think when we went live with BP back in 2021, first proper customer, first number of transactions, I think was a real big thing. First time we went live outside of the UK also was a really cool moment. And I think recently we passed 10,000 test drives for Hyundai, when again those are numbers where you're like, oh okay, right, this is a proper thing. So So yeah, definitely a few of those, but yeah, again, it's hard to get one that stands out because there's been so many. It's a question I get asked a lot in this type of environment, and I'm going to share an Elon Musk quote, and I appreciate that in the current geopolitical climate, Elon Musk is a divisive character, so we'll forget that it's him who said it. But he got asked on stage once, what words of encouragement would you give to a aspiring entrepreneur? And he said, if you need words of encouragement, don't be an entrepreneur. And it's the thing that always sticks in my head. I think it's going into it with your eyes open, being clear about what you want to achieve. I think there's a couple of things that I always think about that I'm fortunate. Probably three things I think I'm fortunate about in my own journey. Firstly, I'm trying to solve a problem I'm passionate about solving. I sometimes talk to people and they go, I really want to have my own business. I've got a few ideas. You'll be really passionate about the thing you're solving, because there's going to be parts where you'll question why am I doing this, and you have to feel strongly about what you're trying to achieve. I think the second is about who you go into business with. Very fortunate that my business partner Matt and I are exactly on the same page. Always have been. I've always been able to support each other through that process. Definitely couldn't have done it on my own. And I think thirdly is just going into it with your eyes open. That it is really hard, and there isn't, particularly if you come from a corporate environment or an academic environment, there are points where you go, right, I've got a decision to make, and no one's here to tell me if I'm doing the right thing or not. And there's bits where it's super difficult, and there's no one to tell you, don't worry, it'll be all right. You just have to get through it. So I think definitely understanding that, and I like that bit of it. I mean, not all the time, but I like that bit of it. But I think, you kind of having that eyes open. It's a tough journey. You need to be passionate about the topic for when it is tough, and you also need to have the right people around you for when it's tough as well.
Definitely for me, I'd say really think that it's something you want to do. Like if you think it's going to be easy, don't do it. It won't be. The big one for me is don't do it alone. I think it's just so critical to have someone like brilliant to do it with, because when you are drowning and you need like picking up, you need someone to pick you up. And if you're on your own, how do you do that? There's times where Chris and I have had to give each other a pep talk, because it's just like getting really hard. And I just think it would have been like another level of impossible to be able to do that without that support. So I think definitely be passionate about what you want to do. Make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure you are under no illusion that it's going to be hard, because it will be hard. And if it isn't hard, you're not doing it properly. And just got to keep going with it. Just don't give up.
Well, that's an interesting question. I think that you've got to be really determined. I think back to my previous point, you've got to be really determined. I don't like to lose at things, so I think that mentality is really kind of stuck, where I'm going, okay, right, I know this is the right thing. I'm passionate about solving a problem, and someone's told me I can't do it. Some investors told me that our business isn't very good, and that actually drives me. I go, do you know what? I'll show you, and a long virtual list that doesn't really exist of people that I want to go, hey, you said 3 years ago your business is rubbish. Well, yeah, look at this now. I think it's that sort of determination and willingness to, or desire not to lose, I think, is really, that's what's always in my mind. Sometimes it doesn't always work, but it's been okay so far. I think it's a really exciting time in the industry. I think that the automotive industry has been being disrupted for a period of time, but lots of kind of macroeconomic things have distorted and disrupted that disruption, if that makes sense. So we had that COVID, we then had microchip shortages. So suddenly dealerships can't sell cars, and then they can sell cars, and then all of a sudden there's no cars available. Then we've got the move from ICE vehicles to electric vehicles happening as well, and also people's relationship with cars changing, where they're looking more flexible access, they've got less attachment to brand, and all those kind of things. And those three things are kind of all happening at the same time and are influencing each other, but are also separate. So I think it's really exciting for us to be in the middle of that. I think the problems that we solve with our technology is is also right in the middle of what is some of the solution for it. And we're an agile enough business to be able to capitalize on it. I wouldn't even pretend at this point to go, where's the business going to be in 3 years' time, and for me to go down and say, oh, it's going to be these things, because I actually don't know. But if you say, where's the business going to be in 3 years' time, I think it's going to be in a really exciting place. We've got great team, great product, super interesting dynamic market that's going to change a lot, and we're right in the middle of it. So can't wait.
Well, I think the obvious one is up. We've got to this point now. We've got a really strong product base in quite a few different markets. We're doing some amazing things for some really big clients, and although those things are generally really difficult to do as well, we are seeing, like, I can really see the benefit of those things, and I can really see the scale that's going to come out of those things. And I just think, over the next couple of years, we're gonna walk into an airport in the UAE, and there'll be a rental dealer there, and they'll be using our front end system, and it'll be a self-serve kiosk, and all that platform is being provided by us, knowing full well, not every single line of code, but the majority of the code that goes on behind the scenes, how that all works, how that all hangs together, and just seeing this polished, front end customer journey, but also like a really smart automated back office system for the actual clients to use themselves and make benefit of. I just think that's amazing. So I can just see like massive potential growth as the market continues to be disrupted, as it continues to have to pivot, and I can just see us being a big part of that.
I think there's just going to be so much change. I think the economic factors that are hitting the market, change from ICE to electric, changing customers' perception about vehicles and business models, entrance of new manufacturers into the mix, combined with macroeconomic stuff, is just there's going to be a lot of change. And I think one of the things that I've continued to say about this industry for the whole time that I've worked in it, even before Tomorrow's Journey, is it needs to change. Like, there's the experience for customers getting into a car largely is pretty poor, and it's a hard thing to change. And because customers don't have any other option, it's kind of always been accepted that it's all right, that's what we'll do. But I think actually now there'll be a forced change through a lot of these impacts. So I'm excited to see what that change is, what that leads to, what it means, what companies will thrive, what companies will struggle, how we're going to use technology to achieve these things, and what the end product's going to look like for the customer. Because I think how customers access vehicles in 5 or 10 years' time is going to look totally different to how it looks today, and I think that's long overdue and really exciting.